What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Mind Muscle Mission podcast on the NFM Podcast Network. I'm your co-host Ben, and this other man. Both of these guys are stellar-looking individuals, but the other one with the hair is Christian. What's going on, man?
Hey, yo, how's the day going? Probably better than mine, but at least we're all there. That's what matters.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
You had a little fiasco last night. Was this the ER visit with due to like lifting weights or what happened?
Dude, honestly, I don't know. My back has been hurting for a month, like 3 or 4 weeks now, just behind the shoulder blade. So I thought it was, just tight, general tightness, all that fun. And then all of a sudden, I have like it's getting progressively worse where I can't sleep at night. I'm just turning, tossing, and turning. Then all of a sudden, last night, I am turning over like in excruciating pain. Like, when you're about to honestly either throw up or cry type of pain. That's what
Yeah.
I was at. So I was like,
Mm.
I think I'm gonna go to the ER. I'm gonna drive myself. I'll be good. Got into the truck and I couldn't even lift my arm to drive. So wife had to drive me at 4 a.m. But
That was sure that
the
was fun.
medication they gave me was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, that shows a little testimony of you're here, you show up. So appreciate you showing up, and I'm sure everyone else does as well. But
Oh, of
today we
course.
have a pretty awesome guest, wealth of knowledge, veteran, and an individual that I've worked closely with this past month, getting me here to Chattanooga. Much thanks to that. And Mr. Tim Lane, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good, Ben. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, I guess thank you guys for having me on. This is a first for me being on a podcast, and especially Ben just scares the crap out of me because I know his background, and it's like even through the camera, I'm still like I got to watch it. So,
Oh man, making my face red. But yeah, man, thanks for jumping in and doing this.
yeah,
I think what you bring as a mortgage representative and working specifically with the VA and helping veterans and service members, move their families, right? Just not impact them,
right.
but impact their families as well, is something that is a tremendous thing, accolade, and knowing the ins and outs of that is definitely going to be beneficial for our listeners. So
Yeah.
thanks for that. But let's
Oh
get
yeah.
into kind of before all that, and then your military history and what what why did you decide to join the military?
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
I grew up in Northwest New Mexico, so the Four Corners area of New Mexico, and the only thing that's really there is you're either going to be oil field or you're going to be oil field support. And I really didn't want to get in the oil field, and the only other real way to get out of there, unless you're going to school, is join the military. And I saw it as my way to get out of there and try to make something with my life or something out of my life.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's
and,
both of us. Like there's one person, a type of person that they knew they were going to be in the military the rest of their entire life. And there's
mhm.
another one is like, I want to do something better. I want to see what I'm capable of. I want to see where I can go, travel the world, and those are a lot of people, and those are
Yeah,
us three right here.
yeah,
So that's pretty cool. Um,
yeah.
so what year did you enlist?
Let's see. Well, I was supposed to graduate in '95. I enlisted in '96, so I guess I'm showing my age here among you young bucks out
Yeah.
there. I was out of the military before you guys even went in, so I don't want to
Oh
hear
man,
it.
that
My
is true.
BDUs are still hanging up. We didn't even have the cool stuff that you guys do now. So,
I still have BDUs. I love BDUs. They're amazing.
yeah, the wife laughs at me. She's like, why did you like wearing uniforms? Like, because I didn't have to know what I was going to wear. Just
Yeah.
grab what was in the closet, throw it on, and go. It
And you
made
know
a
when you
world of
wake up
difference.
and you're ready
Yeah,
like 30 seconds later. You wake up 30 seconds later. It's like, well,
yeah,
here we go.
yeah.
Nice and easy.
Unless I had to
How
shine the
fast?
boots, and those were usually done the night before. So, do they even shine boots anymore? I've heard they don't.
No,
Nope.
Oh man,
I've shined some boots in my dress uniform, but other than that, no.
man, whew, that must be nice. But yeah,
Yeah, it
no, it
is.
was. But yeah, no, I was in went in '96. Left from little Farmington, New Mexico to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and from there went straight to Fort Leonard Wood. Lost in the Woods is where I did my basic in May. So you've been in the South long enough. Missouri's not much different, and it's pretty hot and humid there as well. So it was a big change for a uh, Colorado Plateau boy growing up where there was no humidity. And you learn real quick, you sweat through every pore of your body that you didn't even know you had.
Yes,
Yeah,
very
but yeah,
true.
that was 96. So that's been, wow, almost 30 years ago.
Yeah. And
Wow.
then after
Yeah.
after basic, straight to Fort Hood.
No, well, basic and AIT were both at Fort Hood. I was a heavy
Okay.
equipment operator was what I'd gone in originally as. So bulldozers, backhoes, motor graders, road equipment, road construction type stuff, horizontal construction. And finished up my AIT there and went to Fort Hood in October of 96. Got good old Fort Hood, Texas. Right? Either of you ever been there?
Not the chance, but
No.
at least you're back in the desert a little bit. That must have felt.
No, it was more humid there than it was in Missouri. So, it's 100 degrees outside with 110% humidity. It's like, wow, this is hot. But yeah, no. So got to Fort Hood in October, and my unit was leaving the next day for Bosnia, and I stayed at Fort Hood for a month to get in processed, and then joined them in Bosnia right after Thanksgiving. It was 19 years old and going around the world and no idea what's going on. It's
Yeah. How was Bosnia? And what was that
oh,
experience like being young and you're not really having enough time to kind of get settled in enough to in process, but then, straight deploy to Bosnia. How was
yeah,
that?
it was different. I had some great NCOs and some great soldiers with us, so it made it a lot better. I look back at it now and I'm like, man, I wish I really would have paid attention to what was going on over there.
Yeah.
Just all the history. We spent 2, 3 weeks in Germany, Frankfurt, and then down to Hohenfels to do our training and country training, and then drove down into Bosnia. But just all the history that was there, that 19 years. Oh man, I'll be here again. I'll get to see all this again, and all that, and getting to see everything drive again. It was it was different because you didn't know what to expect. When we went in country, we were originally sent in to de decentralize all the military installations that the United or that NATO had built. So
Okay.
that our job was to come in and pretty much tear the country down.
Just wreak
That
havoc.
Well, not on the country, but on the
Yeah.
installations that NATO had put in.
Okay.
Decommission the bases and everything. And about 3 months in, our mission changed to a stabilization. So we were rebuilding some of the installations back because it was turning into a long term project versus just a short term thing. So our mission changed. Um,
Yeah.
I didn't do much with my job. I got assigned as a command group driver for our battalion, which I actually, looking back now, I was actually pretty blessed because I got to drive all over the country and see a lot of stuff. We had a bridge unit with us. So you guys familiar with the floating bridges?
Yep.
We had a floating bridge company that was part of our command, and they floated the Slavitsky Broad River when we were there. And the Russians actually came in country across the Slavinsky Broad on our bridges. And that
Yeah.
was, yeah, just the history of that. It's like, I look back at it now, it's like, man, I should have had pictures, and man, that was
That's
pretty
kind of cool.
neat. But yeah, but looking back, 30 years later, it's like, man, what was I doing? I should have paid more attention to this stuff. But that was the first time the Russians had came back into Yugoslavia since the Cold War.
Okay. So the
So it
tensions
was,
were high, obviously.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Because you grow up hating commies, and Russia's
Yeah.
your enemy, and you're all sitting there with 210 rounds locked and loaded, and you're ready to go. And they're just driving right by you, and all you can do is look at them. You're like, oh crap, I don't want to be the one to start this, but what's going to happen? And it was a little different. It was neat, and I can't you can't ever take experiences away.
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
And as I get older and I start looking back on it, I start remembering some of the things. It's like, oh yeah, I remember this, or I remember that, or so and so one day launched off a 50 cal and he wasn't supposed to. We all got our butts chewed for that, and everybody has to sit down and count ammo, and it was things like
Mhm.
that. And it was just little things like that, just really stand out. But from Bosnia, we went into came back to Fort Hood. We were there for um, our next big deployment was about 8 or 9. I spent 3 Thanksgivings deployed. So the next Thanksgiving, we were in South Texas doing road work for United States Border Patrol, building roads for them on around Eagle Pass area. And I was watching something the other day, and they were talking about the blimp around Eagle Pass. Well, we could see the blimp from where where our camp was. But we were widening roads and building roads. That's what we did. We were horizontal units, so we built roads and all sorts of fun stuff. But we spent about 8 or 9 months. Well, we spent 6 months down there on that deployment, just working for Border Patrol. No weapons. Weren't allowed to take weapons, so you didn't have to keep up with that. But you just
did you see anything? Like, was it as active as it is? Obviously not today, but was it as active as what you would think?
Not as it is today, but yes, we'd probably see 6 to 10 illegals a day coming across, and we couldn't do anything about it. All we could do was call Border Patrol and say, hey, we're at this coordinate, and we just saw some illegals walking across, and then they'd show up and track them down. But we weren't allowed to apprehend or arrest anybody because that wasn't our job description.
I bet that was kind of a, hey, dude, how much do you bet we can get a couple of them some MREs? Like, what can we do to get them some food, or just like, what do you think it would take for them to come up to us?
Oh, well, they would come up to us. Because we'd have our Humvees parked. We'd have water, the big 5-gallon water jugs on the back, and they'd come over wanting water and stuff, and we were just, sorry, can't help you, and just kind of push them on. But we couldn't interact with them. We couldn't interfere with anything. So it was a little different, but it was that was my first interaction with a Green Beret. Actually was down there. We had a Chief 2 medical Green Beret with us. He was our med officer, and he had to take a ingrown toenail out of my toe, and man, I still remember it to this day. He's like, okay, these first 2 aren't going to hurt. This third one, you're gonna slap me, but don't. And he hit that digital. He went in both sides of it, and hit that digital, and then my toe was numb. And I was like, man, but he was pretty cool. It was like, man, that was my first interaction with one of these beret guys. So
Beret guys.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Like we were able to get a little bit of both the best worlds, right? You had some high conflict or potentially high conflict, right, in Bosnia, and saw a lot of third world country stuff, right? And then you came back here, and I'm sure down south was kind of, it wasn't like third world country, but it was probably desolate, right? It wasn't as much infrastructure.
Real desolate, real desert, that part of Texas. So Eagle Pass is all the I guess the western or eastern side of the state, and that's that whole area down there south of San Antonio and east of San Antonio. So it was, it's desert. Is that part of the Sonoran Desert, or kind of that whole, when you cross into Mexico and you see all the desert, that's a lot of what it looks like. So it was real nothing, trees, mesquite bushes, trees, a lot of hills, a lot of dirt, and that's about all it is. And there were a few houses. There were some ranchers that had a big barbecue for us before we left, and it was, that was nice of them. They butchered a couple cows for us and fed us, and just had a good time, and that was pretty neat. But yeah, it was that went from that, and we drove back to Fort Hood and sat there for about another 6 or 8 months, and then Hurricane Mitch happens, which was one of the deadliest hurricanes to ever set over Honduras. They had just set over Honduras for 3 or 4 days and did nothing but dump water. And we were deployed to Honduras to go help rebuild infrastructure and build roads back for their country.
I'm sure you saw some pretty gnarly things. Right?
Probably saw some things I really didn't want to see. But
yeah, was you like one of the first units there?
We were week 2, I think, after, but we were in a lot of the remote areas of the country, and we're digging bridges out and stuff, and what you uncover is what you uncover, and it's just still get you every once in a while. But it was Honduras was another amazing deployment. I'm not going to say anything else about it. It was amazing getting to go to Honduras on an all expense paid tour. Getting paid to be there, and didn't have to carry a gun again. We had Honduran nationals with us, and that was our protection, and it was actually a lot of fun.
How long were you there for?
We were there for 6 months that trip.
6 months. And like how
6 months.
much did someone backfill you guys in? Or were you guys like mission
No,
complete?
mission complete. We had some Navy Seabees attached with us, and between the Seabees and us and the Air Force had a crew because United States Air Force has an air base there. They did at one time, so
Okay.
the Air Force was working out of there, but us and the Seabees were working in different parts of the country, more of the remote areas. But nobody, I don't think anybody replaced us. It was just at a point where we had done what they needed us to do, and some of that was rebuilding bridges. I mean, there were some towns that you couldn't even get to, and the bridges had washed out, so we came in and built cages in there and got rid of the erosion and put bridges back in and built bridges so people could get around a lot easier. But got a little spoiled on that trip. Dole's pineapple fields were about 3 miles from us, and they used to bring us cases of pineapple a day or a week. And man, once you have that fresh pineapple, I don't care where you are, you will not eat it again unless you know it came right out of the field. That stuff was good. So
Nice.
yeah, yeah,
It
and
sounds a
coffee,
lot
good
like
coffee too.
it sounds like a lot like what probably a lot of the guys were doing with this was it Helene that just hit North Carolina recently?
Hmm.
Probably a lot of the
Yep.
same, the similar style, only the remoteness, the bridge building
Um,
because you just can't get there.
it was. I actually went up and helped do some Helene cleanup too.
Mm.
The week we were up there, I went up 3 trips the week after, just with a chainsaw and a truck, just doing what we could. Me and a buddy of mine out of Knoxville, and there wasn't so much. There were areas where they were having to build bridges or just build roads back, but it was more civilian contractors doing that than it was the military. Did see some Army engineers up there, but they were just clearing a lot of the roads that were already there and just transporting material for the civilian contractors. This was a lot of what they were doing.
Awesome, awesome.
What was
Well, thank
what
you
was
for getting up there.
worse?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What was worse? Like was Mitch in Honduras or Helene? Because I had a lot of buddies go to Helene, out to North Carolina as well to help out, and they said it was a disaster, and it
It
probably still is.
was. Yeah. Oh, just trying to think because it's been 30 years between them.
Yeah.
But Helene was pretty bad, and I think it hit more home because it's a 2.5 hour drive from where we are.
Hmm.
So you have people that are your family more or less. I mean, these are fellow Appalachians or Americans or whatever you want to call them, and they're getting hit. So when you go to a foreign country, it's like you don't really have that tie to them. I don't know if that's the word I want to say, but so I go to a different country. Yes, they're still people. Yes, they still need help, but I don't have that physical
That
tie to
connection, yeah.
them, that connection
Hmm.
to where the people up here in North Carolina, man, this is my backyard. I've got a connection to these people. So my heart feels more for these people up in North Carolina just because of I've seen what they've gone through. But I mean, they're both devastating events. It was just both of them were horrible. And when we were up there, I mean, there were still towns you couldn't even get into. They were still working their way into up in North Carolina. And it was eye opening. It just really reminded me a lot of what we did in Honduras as far as just getting in and trying to
Yeah.
help people get out and stuff. But I guess that ties back to why the military has played a big part in my life is because had I not been in the military, I wouldn't have the training to be able to go up and do that. Even though there's a 30-year gap in there, it's that muscle memory. It's, oh yeah, I remember how to do this, that it all comes back. And it
Yeah.
just, so sometimes there's no such thing as coincidences. Things we deal with yesterday come back tomorrow to help us out.
Well,
Very
just
well
your
said.
willingness to get up there in general. I mean, I know myself. I was trying to get up there the best I could. I think it's just so much. Like that's where the Red Cross has to say, hey, stop self-deploying. We don't want
Hmm.
you're gonna get stuck. We don't want to have to come get you.
Yeah,
So it's awesome you were able to get
yeah,
up there and help out.
yeah. Well, not to say a non PC term. That's the first time in my life where I could say there was more Indians than there were Chiefs.
Yeah, yeah.
Usually there's more Chiefs than there are Indians up in the Helene area, all that area. There were more people there willing to do work than there was people to tell them where to go to do it.
Mm.
So that just speaks volumes for the type of people that are in that area and
Yeah.
how much people really care about people. here in the States still.
Have you been up there recently? Like, how is that? Like, have you heard anything like the progress of rebuilding that that area?
I haven't been back up in those areas. I've driven up to Charlotte a couple times, and I go up through the mountains. And some of the areas that weren't hit as hard, we did our third trip up. We were able to get into Bat Cave, which is right above Chimney Rock. We were able actually to park and walk in a little ways before they turned us around. And what I've heard on that is they're still clearing roads to get down into Chimney Rock proper.
Jeez.
So it's just, I mean, just it's the easiest way to explain it to people is you're dealing with mountains. And when you have mountains and you have rain, the rain comes down to the valleys and it cuts little creeks. Well, over several centuries, animals follow those creeks because it's, a nice smooth area. Well, and then humans come in and they see these little trails, so that's where they build the roads. Well, you're talking about getting up in the mountains, so where they built the roads, well, now all of a sudden they're putting the power lines. And that's the arteries, their lifelines getting in and out of where these little creeks are. So when you have that, they said that there was enough water that dumped on North Carolina to fill Lake Mead. Is roughly about how much water dumped in a matter of a day or 2 days. So you think all these little mountain peaks, all these creeks just swelled straight up and washed everything out. And that's what was so bad is it's not that a lot of people lost their lives. It's just a lot of people can't get to where they live because the roads are completely gone because of the little mountainsides. You get hurricanes like this down in Florida and it's all flat. Yeah, it's bad, but they can, oh, well, we'll just move over next to it and build a road. You don't have all these creeks and valleys and stuff that you got to work your way around. And, so you start up high and then these creeks work down into bigger creeks, down into bigger creeks, down into bigger creeks. And that's a lot of where Bat Cave and Chimney Rock was you just had mudslides just coming over from all these creeks overflowing and just pushing out and just pushed, a lot of dirt and rock just over the side of cliffs and filled up everything. And it was, I mean, it was eye-opening, but like I said, I was glad that I had done this in the military because I wasn't as shocked as some people would have been at some of the stuff that was there.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, not to keep dragging this one on, but I was there like 2 weeks before, like in Asheville, and then I think it's Chimney Rock, like right outside of it,
Yeah.
or whatever that tiny little town is. I forget, 30 minutes away. But then to look at me like, oh, that's gone. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like it's wild to be like, okay, man, I just had dinner, and
Mhm.
that waitress might not be there anymore. This diner's not there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's eye opening.
It was crazy, but it was a blessing to my job. At least allows me to where I can go do stuff like that. I'm not tied to a clock where I have to clock in and clock out. And my wife is amazing about she knows my heart when it comes to helping people and stuff like this. She's just like, I'm like, hey, I think I'm going to go. She's like, why are you still here? She's always very supportive of that. She knows because if she doesn't let me go, she knows it's going to sit here and eat at me, and then I'm just going to go anyway. So she's learned over 20, well, it'll be 21 years in June. She's learned that she knows what bothers me, and if something's bothering me, she might as well just say go ahead and do it because I know you're going to one way or another. So
Yeah, it's good. It's very good. So
Yeah.
so a little backtrack. So after your third trip, was that kind of done, or what was after that?
yeah, that so I reenlisted. You know, I know Christian did, or I know Ben had. I don't know if Christian well, yeah, I guess you went from one corps to the other. So, we all raised our hands again, and I decided I was going to change jobs. Got over in the IT field and went to Fort Gordon for training, and my back just kept hurting and kept hurting and kept hurting, and was medically discharged because of my back. And that was the end of a little 6-year career. I was 3 months shy of a full 6 years.
And that was all
So
right after
right after
year
9/11.
9/11. So how'd
Yeah.
that impact you?
Oh wow. I remember we were at PT, had gone home, changed, came back. I was working at admin, so I was in an office and I just sat down at my computer and our lieutenant goes, hey, check this out. And we went over in the game room, or the, I don't even remember what you call them anymore. We had a TV in there, and the first plane had just hit the tower. And I remember sitting there and seeing the second plane hit. And about that time, everybody's phones start going off on post. We're under complete lockdown. I mean, we were under complete lockdown for almost a week. And for people that haven't been on military installations, they think a complete lockdown is horrible. It's like military installations are self-sustainable. They're built to have no contact with the outside world. But I mean, we had people that lived off post that couldn't even get back on post because it was complete shutdown. People that needed to get off post couldn't get off post, and yeah, I still remember that like it was yesterday. Even though that's over almost, that's what, 25 years ago, 24,
Yeah.
20, yeah, 24 years ago this year.
So were you in the med board process when that happened?
Mm-hmm. I
Okay.
was. I
So
was. That was
there's no after that's initiated, there's no really
right. Well,
you
yeah, I got out in
after that.
January, and they didn't even have any. We, as the lowly soldiers we were, we had no direction as to what was going on yet. You know, of course, the
Hmm.
higher ups knew what was going on, but you know, when you're down at an E4, E5 level, they don't tell you much until it's time to go. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was, and where I was at Fort Gordon and being IT, my next duty assignment, my orders were to take me to the Hague over in Switzerland.
Okay.
Yeah, if I'd have known that, I probably would have fought through that.
I think I would have definitely been
But
like,
it
you know
was,
what, my back does not
you know,
hurt
so
that much.
I don't know
Like
that
it
I ever
could.
would have been over there. And you know, Ben, I know you've been in.
Took it off my plate, working with you when we were buying our house down here in Chattanooga, and that was something that um, I didn't take lightly, and I think that was something that was amazing for me to have the trust of knowing that a fellow veteran was doing something that he was passionate about, and
Mhm.
that's something is pretty cool. So, how'd you get into it?
Oh, I moved after I got out of the military, moved to Tennessee, and did computer work for a little while, did some construction work for a little while. My first sales gig was selling manufactured homes, and met my uh, not well my wife now. She wasn't my wife at that time, but we started dating, and she was working for a mortgage company here in Chattanooga. And she's like, "No, you just need to come try this out." And here I am, 20 plus years later, and I love it. VA focus hasn't been some VA has not been. Let me stop real quick. So the VA portion of it has not been the top focus for me up until about 6 years ago. Um, Started hearing all these horror stories from people I knew about how horrible their loan processes were with the VA loans, and just really did some soul searching. It was like, why am I not specializing in VA loans? Why am I not learning these inside and out? How to make this easier? You know, as veterans, as active duty service members, you put a lot of trust in people to do their job. I mean, Ben, when you went to work every day, you trusted your coworkers, your co-squad members to do their job day in and day out. And the civilian population doesn't understand that camaraderie that we have. And if I could take a little bit of your trust in me to do my job and get my job done, then I just made your move easier. I made your life easier. I made one less thing on your plate, one less stressful situation for you to be able to spend time with your family. Or if you're moving PCSing, spend time with your family. You know, Ben's retired. Now you're looking at the future. You know, that wasn't something else you needed to worry about with moving to Chattanooga area. So that was part of my big focus getting in the VA. The other is as VA, as veterans, um, I can sit here and cut up with Ben and Christian all day long, even though I've never met you, because we've all gone through a lot of the similar experiences. People that haven't done this, people that haven't been through basic training or boot camp or anything like that, they don't, they understand a little bit of it, but they don't understand what we've had to go through. So we automatically have a camaraderie built up just from that. And and it just makes it easier. Not that I'm using it as a marketing ploy, but I love my veterans. I'm a veteran. You guys are veterans. I love you guys, regardless of if I've never met you before or not. You're still my veteran, and you deserve to be treated with respect. You don't deserve to be taken through the ringer. I've seen too many companies out there, big companies. You see them all over TV. You see their advertising all over the place that just take veterans to the cleaners all over $1. And it's like, why are we doing that in our industry? So I joined a group they're actually out of Michigan or Wisconsin, somewhere up north, I think Michigan, but called Veteran Mortgage Advisors. And it's just a training program that we go through. Everybody in the military loves training, right?
Especially online training. I think we need more.
Yeah. Was it
Yeah.
online? That was my next question. Was it
Yeah,
online?
yeah. It was online. I've been to a couple seminars with them, but so I decided to become that subject matter expert on VA loans, especially here locally. We don't have any military installations here local, so I'm not getting a whole bunch of PCS people. But you'd be amazed at how many retirees or how many prior service members are moving to this area. And it's about taking care of my veteran at the end of the day. That's what it boils down to me. I want to make sure that veteran is taken care of, and the best way for me to do that is for me to do your loan.
Yeah.
Not to be selfish or conceited, but that's
No,
basically what it boils down to.
But truthfully,
It's,
I mean, that's just, I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I've always wondered because I know, Ben, you just went through and got your VA and you just did the whole thing getting that. We're still in a family home. So, like, our time is coming soon to look at a house. And it's like, I have no idea what I'm looking at right now. I mean, thank goodness for some, but when you get out of, I think well, when I got out of the Army, when I got out of the Marines, there was no classes. It was like, your day's here? Bye, deuces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Army at least sat me down and, you did those Excel briefs and those, I mean, it says all of it, but still, half of those feel like you're leaving the Army. This is why you're going to go back into the Army. They do not set you
Yeah.
up for continued success out. Like, hey, how do I do, no joke, how do I do my taxes now that I'm out? How do I get a good
Yeah.
civilian job? How do I buy a home with these benefits that you say I have that they might as well be cannon fodder because I don't know what it means.
Yeah, well, because you're out processing, so the only thing on your mind is let me get this piece of paper signed off on so I can get the heck out of here. I'm done. I'm ready to be gone, and you don't pay attention to that stuff. And that's a lot of it is educating the veterans, educating the even the spouses, because I've had spouses have to buy houses for their husbands because their husbands are deployed. And it's about education. It's about making sure people are where they need to be and moving how they need to be. Ben, we had a couple little hiccups on yours, and I was scared every time Ben called us, like, oh crap, here comes the Green Beret. I'm about to make sure my life insurance is paid up, or I'm going to be hurting here. But we worked through the few little issues we had, and I told Ben up front, hey, these are non-issues. It's just paperwork.
Yeah.
If there was issues that were going to keep you from doing this, I would have already brought that to your attention, and we would have already had this discussion. And so
I think that's the thing that I appreciated is even though those small hiccups, they could have been magnified, right, by us, by having to do it ourselves or having someone who wasn't as responsive as you were. So I think that's one thing that, as you were talking, there's a couple things that kind of hit home is, how easy it is to put a veteran-owned business on there, right? If you employ a certain percentage of people in your whatever, right, in your job or your business, you now can say you're veteran-owned, and a lot of people see that, and our society markets to that, and that's okay. and I kind of got that the same way when I would hired movers to move from Nashville to Chattanooga. So it was a veteran owned, and it wasn't, they didn't take care of me nearly as much, and we ended up not going with them and using them.
Mhm.
Um, but you see that, right? And you instantly feel that camaraderie. It's like, okay, he gets me, he understands. I'm going to be, not treated differently, but I'm going to have, there's gonna be some connection there, and it just wasn't there for me on the moving company. Um, but yeah, that's the thing is I didn't want to be educated on that stuff because it would take me forever. But
Right.
I enjoyed the fact of kind of the hands off approach, but knowing that I was going to be taken care of.
Hmm.
I think that's one of the key components is being able to know things are going to get across the finish line, but you don't really have to do much of the lifting, right?
Right.
So that was
Right.
that was the benefit, looking back on it. And what would you say, like, yeah, Christian, I 100% agree with you. Like, I
Mhm.
think majority of veterans, a majority of service members do not know the VA loan process or know how to find a appropriate one, right? There's no really that cheat sheet of, hey, go to these companies or talk to these people and you'll be taken care of and you'll get the rate that you deserve, the VA, it's a great option because you don't have to put money down. Like that's
Mhm.
phenomenal. Like what that's
Yeah.
like that's you can't beat that. But getting to the right person is difficult. So what would you be like, Tim? What would you suggest? Individuals or listeners that are like, yeah, I do want to buy a home. I don't live in Chattanooga. How can I ensure that I'm getting the best advice, the best representation that I deserve?
Yeah. Well, the great thing about my industry is I know you dealt with a real estate agent here in Chattanooga, Ben. Um, so real estate agents are kind of limited by the market they're in. With my industry, I'm limited by state borders. So, I personally am licensed in Tennessee. I'm licensed in New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia. So these are all states that I can do loans in, even though I'm not local. And, luckily because of the internet, everything, I mean, I didn't meet Ben until closing. That's how personal I
Yeah.
was
And
with it.
all I would do is I would just like, he's like, I need you to sign something. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so there you go, sign it.
Okay, sounds good. Click
Yeah.
sign, and so that's the great thing about technology nowadays is you don't have to work with somebody local, but people out there, even if you're not in the Chattanooga area, if you're not, if you're in somewhere I'm not licensed, go on Facebook. There's a group called uh, shoot, I just threw the name out. Veteran Mortgage Advisors or Veteran Mortgage Professionals. And they even have a website you can go on there. These are all people that have done on their own extra training just to become the subject matter experts in our industry to make sure our veterans are taken care of. A lot of us on there are veterans. The ones that aren't, they come from military backgrounds. Either their spouse was, or maybe mom or dad was, or uncle, and they just have a real tie to the veteran community. And there's tons of people out there that are willing to help you out that aren't the big box lender, that aren't the people advertising all the time. The problem I see, I had one gentleman in Florida that's trying to move up here, and he refinanced earlier last year or later last year. The company he worked with charged him over $13,000 just in fees, just for that company to do his refinance.
Lovely.
And
Absolutely lovely.
yeah, yeah. So this guy just lost $13,000 of equity in his house because he chose one of these big box lenders. I could have done it for him, and he could have saved us $13,000. And it's not that it's because he didn't know, because the education's not out there. They don't, everything looks good until the grass is always greener on the other side of the septic tank, is what I've always been told. And usually you realize you were standing on top of the septic tank once you get over there. And that's how it is. And if you don't know, if you don't ask, you never understand.
Hmm.
And it's the same with dealing with mortgages with lenders. Just because somebody's a big company, or talk to other people. You're not going to hurt my feelings if you go talk to another lender and use them. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I just want to make sure that you're getting the best deal, and I want to see what they're offering you, because if it's a better deal than I can get, I'll tell you right up, hey, this is better than I can get you. I'm fixing to call them and have them do my mortgage. So I'm not shy. If it's something I can't do, then I'll let you know. But it's unfortunately grandma and grand. Let me see. Unfortunately, mom and dad still control a lot of people's thoughts, which is fine. And parents that got mortgages 10 years ago, it's not the same mortgage industry that it is now. Things have changed. When I first started in this industry, we used to do what we called mirror loans. Basically, you'd show up to closing, hold a mirror under their nose. If it fogged, they could sign and take the mortgage. And then 2008 happened, and the industry blew up. And now it's a lot stricter. It's a lot tougher. And that's the thing is, listen to your parents, listen to your elders, whether it's mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, uncle who's bought houses before. But also understand that times have changed in our industry and things have changed, and always talk to other people, always talk to your lenders, because we know our guidelines, we know what we can and can't do, and if we can't do it, we'll tell you up front. And that's a lot of what it is. It's knowledge. I don't go into I don't walk into a gym and act like I know what I'm doing. I go find somebody who does and have them show me how to do it. And that's what I got to get to work and want, Ben. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. We live close by, so we can fix that up.
Yeah, exactly. But you all three of us were in the Army. There's how many different MOSs or how many different jobs in the military. You can't expect somebody to know how to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same in the civilian world. You have different people that do different jobs. So find the best, find somebody that you can trust, and that's who you use. That's who you stick with, and that's how life is.
Yeah.
Do you think a lot of those larger companies, they like to play off the let's not pretend that they don't know that veterans getting out, these young 18, 9, let's say 21 to 26-year-olds are getting out after the 4 med board, like I was, like I think med board all of us were. But just the reason why these big box companies don't say anything, because they know they're going to get that 13 grand or 10 grand, 5 grand, whatever amount of money it is out of these young service members. And truly, they just don't care. I mean, it's just another paycheck.
Yeah.
Another
Yeah,
paycheck.
yeah, that's all it is. You're just a number to them. It's about quantity and not quality. Me and my business coach had this talk yesterday, and the company I work for, some things have changed as far as where we want to be with our VA stuff. As far as our lending wise, we're the number 5 lender in the United States, as far as non-bank lender and not on VA. And our goal at one point was to be the number 3 lender. And that's changed a lot now. And it's like, do we really care about being number 3, or do we care about the number 1 person that we take care of, which is our veteran? If we scale back how many we do, but we're giving quality loans and taking care of our veterans, is that more important to us than being the number 1 lender out there for veterans? And that's, so that's a lot of where we're steering the ship now. The company I work for we have a veteran advisory board that I'm on. I've got an EOD guy on there. He's was an EOD for the Army. There's a lot of us fellow veterans on there, and we're the ones steering the ship. Hey, this is where we want to go with this. This is what we want to do, and our company's just letting us take the reins. And that's been the talk we've had: is let's work more on quality versus quantity. Let's take care of our veterans. Let's make sure that they're still treated like humans. Even though everybody else things have changed in the last 6-8 months as far as how we're being treated, for the better in my eyes. And some people prior to that, it was veterans are, let's kick them while they're down and just keep kicking them, and unfortunately that's what they do.
Yeah.
And so it's about, at the end of the day, it's about taking care of my veteran, and that's what it truly matters to me.
Yeah, that's I was going somewhere with that.
Sorry, I'm probably all over the place. I'm good at rabbit trails. So
No, it's good. Can you talk a little bit about, because I know the housing market is not as what it used to be, right? And it changes, and it's going to change every single day. And I think you mentioned that at closing. But can you just kind of give us a little bit of a basic understanding of the housing market and how important the VA is, like the VA loan? Because right, wrong, or indifferent, like I put no money down on this house. However, I think I closed in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
a little over 2 weeks.
And
yeah.
right then and there, I thought that was unheard of. And a lot of people I've talked to, like, there's no way you're going to close in that time frame. And I'm like, well, that's what they're saying. And we
Mhm.
did. So and I think that's probably a lot of what you did is try to drive the ball forward. But what's the market like? What do you see the trends? People are probably like, do I go now? Christian, do you move now? Christian is like, he's gonna call Tim right after this, like, hey, I'm moving right tomorrow.
Yeah.
Um, but like, what do you see now? Like, what's going on in the market right now?
Well, the market we're in here in Chattanooga, we're actually pretty lucky. There's a lot of industry moving in this area. Everybody wants to be in Chattanooga. It's the next, the little Silicon Valley is what I've heard it called. It's so outdoorsy. Everybody's moving here. So our house prices aren't tanking like other places in the country are. So they'll continue to rise. Real estate's the safest investment you'll ever make. Very rarely will real estate ever lose its value. It may not appreciate as much as some things sometimes, but you will never lose your money in real estate if you take care of it. So, being the Chattanooga area, um, what you're buying today, you know, the easiest way to say it is we sold a house last year that we had owned for 3 years and made $150,000 profit on. We bought it before COVID and we sold it after COVID. We lived in it and just the appreciation in it went through the roof like that. So it that's what you have to look at is, things aren't going that fast right now. I don't know that they'll ever go that fast again, but the house you could buy today is not going to be the house you can buy tomorrow, if that makes sense. I can buy a house today for 500,000. Tomorrow that house might cost me 520. Because it's going to continue to appreciate. So then when you start talking interest rates, rates are up right now. I mean, they're not bad. When my mom and dad bought their first house, rates were 13, 18%, and they're 6.5 today. So, I mean, they're not too bad. But what you have to look at is, so the house that you could afford today, you may not, maybe 500,000 a day. Tomorrow it may be 505, and that's all good. But what you've got to think about is what the interest rates are. When my parents bought their first house, they were 14%, and now today they're hanging mid sixes. So it still sounds high, but overall they're still low. So what we look at when we start looking at interest rates is when is a good time to buy. The good time to buy is when you can afford it, because the house you can buy today at 6.5, if rates drop to 5.5 tomorrow, that just opened it up to another 300,000 buyers. Because the payment goes down, so that opens that house up for more. So you can buy today at 6.5, and if rates go down after you buy, you can always refinance, but you already own that house, and you're not competing for everybody else to get it. Plus, you're building up that equity in it as well from day one. So remember that house you paid 500,000 for yesterday. Today is 505. Well, if you owned it, you just made that $5,000 equity. So it's never a bad time to buy. It's when is the best time for you to buy is what you have to look at it, and that's where we come in. My wife and I work together as a team. Of course, I focus on VA, but I can do every type of loan. And it's let's sit down and build a plan for you. Let's see where you want to be in 5 years. Where do you want to be in 10 years? It's not just a financial. We're not just mortgage people. We're financial professionals. So we want to help you get to where you want to be. And if that means, hey, let's wait 6 months and see what it looks like then with your credit or with your income versus what it looks like now, or hey, now's a good time to do it. If you can afford this might be the time to do it. Neither one of us are here to push you into something you don't want to do. And it's like I don't know if I told Ben but I tell a lot of clients, hey, you're the one that has to be comfortable, because you're the one that has to make that payment every month, not me. And if you're not comfortable with that payment, then it doesn't matter what I sell you. You still have to make that payment. So I've got to make sure you're comfortable with where it's at.
Yeah, that's pretty. I never thought about it like that way. If the rates drop, it just opens up the door for more people to come in. And if that's the house, and that's kind of how we were. It was like we walked in this house and I was like, this is it. And if you wait, you never know what's going to happen. So that's pretty good. Yeah. I like that.
Right.
Thank you.
I never thought about that either. I mean, truly, and there's always going to be somebody that has more money than you to be able to buy it and will wash you out. So you waited 6 months or 5 months, 3 months. for nothing.
Yeah. Well, and it's not even that. It's how much equity did you lose in the house because you decided to wait.
Yeah.
You know, everything appreciates. So your real estate is the way to build non-passive income, especially when you start getting in rental income. So not only are you getting monthly, but you're also gaining equity every month or every year as that property value increases. So when you go to sell it, you know, you bought it at X amount, and now you're selling it for Y, plus you made how much off of it for years. And it's the same about, you know, with your primary residence. You may not be making a monthly, you may not be getting rent on it every month, but you're still gaining that equity every year. You know, you're still gaining equity. So when you get ready to sell, you have extra equity built in there that it's appreciated. That's an appreciating asset. It's not like these, you know, these fancy little cars that are sitting in the driveway that are an appreciating asset. A house is an appreciating asset. So
Nice.
just a lot of different things to look at, a lot of different ways to look at it. And, you know, that is one thing from the VA point of view, or even from any of it, is I'm always down to sit down and just educate people. Let's look at your numbers. Let's see what it looks like for you. Let's, you know, may not be the time to buy now. I'll tell you if it is. If it is, let's go. You know.
Well, I know I'm going to be talking to you very soon in general.
Yeah, I'm ready. Come on.
But as we start to wrap up, one of our favorite things, my favorite thing to do, is give us one of your favorite or the most memorable experience that you had in the service. I mean, that could be a good memory, bad memory, something absolutely psychotic memory, but just the first thing that kind of popped to your noggin.
Oh wow! So we were in South Texas. We were living in GP mediums in the middle of the desert, or the middle of the area. You know, it's hot, and we all stink because we all come out every day. And we had this private in our platoon who was kind of our charity case. I think you guys have all had those, and we used to always mess with him so bad. And we had him thinking that our platoon sergeant was in Desert Storm, the original Desert Storm, and Scott Neer, our E7, just great guy, still around. Talk to him every once in a while. But we had this private convinced that Scott had flashbacks. And we used to mess with him so much. Scott, in the middle of the night, he'd just get an axe and go over and just stand by him just so we could watch his face. And, you know, we used to met that, or we'd put shaving cream in his hand because he'd always fall asleep before everybody else. And we'd just sit there, you know, he'd do this. And, you know, we just used to pick on that poor kid all the time. And I feel sorry for him, but that's part of what the camaraderie is about. You ask for something that stands out. I always get a chuckle anytime I think back on stuff. And it's always, you know, we were always picking on people. You know, hazing. You couldn't get away with some of the stuff we did now. I'm surprised we got away with this just because nobody went crying about it. So.
Yeah.
Very just true. Need to make hazing great again.
Yeah. Yes, they did. Yes. Yeah.
So
yeah, well, I appreciate you guys having me on. This was awesome. You know, like I said when we began, this is the first podcast I've done. So,
well, very nice.
And enjoyed just talking to you guys. Me and Ben got some stuff we're working on behind the scenes too, on some other stuff that I brought to his attention here the last couple of days.
It's gonna be good.
Just getting to sit here and chit chat with you guys and learn a little bit more about you is always great to hear people's stories, because that's where people come from.
For sure.
Yeah,
and you did an amazing day. We just want to thank you. Is there anything last you want to plug? A good contact for you, so people who are looking to finally get into the VA loan, or just any loan in general in the Tennessee area, can reach out to you.
Yeah. Best way is my cell phone is 423-715-5607. I have that with me pretty much 24/7. You can text me, you can call me, you can shoot me dirty pictures. I mean, flip me off. I don't care. I might flip you off back. But that's usually the best way to do it. You know, I'm on socials. My handle on socials is my VA loan guy, and that's just kind of the tagline we decided would probably be best for me. It's just easy, you know, when people are, man, who was that guy that we talked to about the VA loan? Oh yeah, my VA loan guy, you know, and that's how I tell people to say their name in my phone is my VA loan guy, and that way you can always find me when you need a VA loan. But yeah, that's the best way. I do have a couple events going on, but this will come out after those, so we'll get some more going to talk about other stuff later, though.
Yeah. Because when those events get down, we got to get you back on and go into those a little bit more.
Yeah, see how they're going.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
Perfect.
Definitely.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us on another edition of Mind Muscle Mission podcast. We are so grateful to have y'all, and we're looking forward to the next one. We'll see y'all then.